All right, first up on the show, AI has certainly been a driving force in technology and is helping changing the fortunes of companies. The latest report then from Bain and Company has said that startups has realized that AI can increase revenue, sometimes even adding to 20% of their profits. Let's understand a little bit more about this report and how companies can actually leverage AI to help improve their financial metrics. Sandeep Nayak is the partner at Bain and Company and now joins us on the show. Sandeep, good to have you. So, let's talk a little bit more about this report of yours. It talks about building a profitable AI-driven economy, and that requires a lot of processes and optimal use of business diagnostics. How does it work?
Let's step back, right? So there's one part which is about AI-driven growth, right? And if you see, why we call AI as a trillion-dollar opportunity is the adoption has been significant. It continues to grow. Just to give you a frame of reference, right? So if, for example, in 2023, if you look at large companies, probably more than 10,000 odd resources, right? If there probably were, a certain set of companies which had parked $100 million budget, right, for AI. And this includes, all hardware, software, LLMs, and everything of that sort. That number has doubled in 2024, more than doubled. It's probably gone 2.5 times, right? So there is, in a way, companies investing. So, as that picks up and that grows, if you look at what's going to happen to the semiconductor world, the server storage world, software services, all of that will see rapid growth, right? So you are, in a sense, looking at an economic creation of about $1 trillion. Right? So that is in one part, right? But how does it matter to an enterprise? How does it matter to a bank? How does it matter to a retailer, right? Because for them, it's about what difference is AI making to their lives, insofar as we kind of put this into 3 frames, if you may have one. One is what we say, operate better. The second one is deliver better, and the third one is change the game. So when I say operate better, it essentially means how do you do your internal processes in finance, in HR, right? Better, right? How do you kind of, and a lot of it is productivity and speed focused, right? Doing things faster, making people, making resources more productive. And it covers, all your support functions, be it marketing, be it finance, and all of them, right? There is reasonable deployment. If you look at marketing, there is already an expectation of cost reduction, if you may, right? Or productivity improvement in specific areas like content creation to the tune of 15 to 20%. Right? If you look at certain amount of back office processes which have documents involved, you're already starting to see wherever it's been deployed, in areas where it's been deployed, you're starting to see a reasonable 25 to 30% productivity improvement, if you may, right? So there is this whole arena of operate better, which you as a company in your processes are starting to adopt Gen AI, and it's starting to show results. The second part, and so what happens, right? When you become more productive in the longer run, right, you start to kind of save money, which hits your bottom line directly. The second one is what we call deliver better, which is everything that you deliver to a customer, be it a product, be it a service offering, you embed AI into that, right? So if, for example, I have, beyond my support functions, I have my supply chain, right? If I need to kind of improve it. If I have to kind of, for a SaaS company, I have a product that I'm taking across to a customer, I put AI into it, right? That part is what we call deliver better. And there have been moves that there are advantages there as well. I think the chapter that's going to open up Avan significantly going forward is what we call change the game, which essentially is any company, right, sitting on a set of proprietary data and information. How can you use that? How can you use AI atop that, if you may, right, to be able to monetize it? Right. So that is the chapter which is going to open up going forward. I'll pause there.
Right. So how important then is it, Sandeep, for companies now to embrace AI? Do you think that they will become extinct to a certain extent if they don't embrace it now?
One, it won't be extinct. I'll give you 2 parallel examples to bring it to life, right? So if you look at India and you start looking at, look, IT services is an area where we've led through and through, right? If we look at IT services, it's now hygiene for them. Now, here's possibly what's going to happen. IT services companies have resources that write code and deliver it to customers, right? That let's assume that entire, the entire bit of developing code and delivering to a customer, assume there's a 15% productivity improvement. Now, there's another chapter, another thing that they do is maintain applications. Let's say there's a 20% productivity improvement there. They have to demonstrate it because customers expect it. And it's a competitive field, right? People will do it. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it. You will do it. It'll also mean that your current book of business is likely going to come down, right? But on the other hand, Gen AI presents so many other opportunities, right? So as much as there is an element of cannibalizing your own business, it presents a lot of opportunities for you to deliver services differently and make up for whatever shortfall that will come through. Whereas if I look at cement, it's not like, it's going to be, you can't take cement out of our lives. You can't take steel out of our lives. But yes, you can use AI to kind of ensure that you have better quality, better production, you deliver better, right? That entire aspect of just improving the quality of your product, the timeliness and how it's available, understanding your customer, what they need, and be able to service them better. All those aspects, people will have to improve or they will fall behind. But cement is not going to be replaced by AI, right? So it has, I think, a different impact across different businesses, Avan. So to just say that, people will cease to exist, or companies will cease to exist may not be correct. But um, companies that do not adopt it will get challenged in the future, that's for sure.
Sure, but just having access to AI, I think, is not going to be enough for companies. How can businesses, or what have your readings and showings in the report proven in terms of how businesses can actually rethink their AI strategy and help to gain value from it?
So, Avan, in a very similar way, if me and you today start to use what's available to us in the form of our own little co-pilots, our lives become a little simpler and we actually get more productive, right? So I use AI to plan out my day, right? It's able to pick up things from my email, who I need to respond to, so on and so forth. And I'm probably used in a certain way to kind of ensure that I'm more productive, right? Now that's at a resource level. Everybody has access to this, right? And so my recommendation would be that every person in a certain field of work, if AI is available to you, put it to good use for yourself first, right? But then if you start looking at, yes, you have all this AI, and you then start looking at just using AI for the sake of using AI does not help. So we have this philosophy, which is don't think about individual little point use cases, think about a chapter. So what could a chapter mean, right? A chapter could mean, let's say, my production in a steel plant. And if I look at production in my steel plant, I have got, for example, furnaces, arc furnaces, right? Whatever. I mean, I'm talking about core expensive equipment. I can effectively use AI to maintain it more predictably and ensure there's no downtime, right? Or reduced downtime. I can actually ensure that that big asset of mine, which is so expensive, is actually more productive, right? Throughout the year. Now, pick that manufacturing chapter, you'll find there are probably 50 use cases that could come through, provided you have the right kind of data, real time. And if you're able to deploy AI on top of it, a lot of AI deployment, Avan, is very dependent on the quality of your data and your software and your infrastructure. So if you do that well enough, think of a chapter, there'll be 50 use cases, figure out a way to kind of develop it or deploy these use cases every couple of weeks, see if they're working. If they're not working, pull back, tweak, change, take your 18 months, deploy those 50 use cases, then you start to see that incremental differential value coming through. So, in so much as having just large language models accessible to you is just the start of a chapter. You have co-pilots accessible to you as a resource, just be more productive, use it. But if you want to really make a difference, think about chapters and think about deployment in chapters, for which obviously your data, your application, and your infrastructure needs to be in shape.
And I think what's really going to appeal to a lot of businesses, small companies, and entrepreneurs is the kind of data that you guys have doled out. The fact that startups can increase revenue and even add 20% to the profits. Give us examples of where that's happened and what exactly the findings indicate.
There are, and it depends on the nature of the startup, but there are so many things that startups could do. If it's, for example, a SaaS-based product startup, a B2B SaaS product startup, you are looking at the art of possible where every piece of software, if it's let's say even a SaaS software, it needs to get configured for a particular client. You could actually make configuration much easier. You could almost make it language-based, where you kind of have a set of requirements, translate that into a set of instructions, which can then be kind of built into the software pretty quickly. So what you're essentially doing is you're just reducing your time to deployment, and your revenue starts faster. In many cases, right, if you deploy Gen AI, you're able to target your customers much better, spend less on marketing, and get more realization for it. You are able to develop code faster, right? So your release times, for example, for new features can become significantly faster. So here's what's happening, and I'll just give you a B2B SaaS, example where my feature set releases become much faster, cycle times become much faster. When I deploy it at my customer, the deployment time goes down, my path to revenue becomes more. Because I've added new feature sets, I can charge more revenue, right? And henceforth, I just add to my growth trajectory significantly, right? So this is a B2B SaaS. It's a certain example, right? But if I look at any other startup in any other arena, it goes down to them being able to figure out which are the chapters that matter most to kind of give a differential growth path to the revenue and get the monies faster in terms of bottom line. Go about it methodically, deploy it, and I think the art of the possible is significant at this point.
Great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining in.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits, and then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.